Looking to retire abroad? You're not alone, and you're in the right place.
Today, we're turning all of our eyes to Ecuador, a country that punches way above its weight in beauty, climate, and expat friendliness, all while keeping a relatively low cost of living. This is Queer Money episode number 616, so let's go.
So let's talk a little bit about Ecuador, especially when it comes to gay rights. Same-sex marriage has been legalized since 2019. Legal gender recognition took place in 2024. Despite all that, there is still a little bit of stigma. Same-sex couples cannot adopt, and there is some discrimination despite the constitutional protections, which kind of reminds me of what David Gobacker said on episode 611 about how he wants to live in a country that it isn't just written, it's actually lived on the streets. And so this is probably one of those countries that's still working towards that. As far as the rest of the country, it is considered to be an affordable luxury area. You can enjoy a comfortable lifestyle for about 60 to 70% less than the US, with many stunning mountain and coastal vistas and world-class healthcare. It is also referred to as a country that has year-round springtime. Ecuador's mild but stable climate, especially in the mountainous areas like the Andes, means that you can ditch both the snow shovel and the air conditioner.
I'm down with that.
Right. Some other things that are great, it does have easy access to an easier life, with the US dollar being its primary currency. It has a simplified residency visa process and low-cost domestic travel. So that makes it a place where a lot of retirees are looking to retire abroad because it is refreshingly straightforward.
Nice. So, as a recap, 2 weeks ago, we covered the beautiful country of Taiwan for the top 5 places for gay retirees. In 2 weeks, we will cover the top 5 places for gay retirees in Madonna's home country, Italy. This week, we're covering Ecuador. So, as always, please let us know what we get right, what we get wrong, especially some of the pronunciations. And then, of course, more importantly, let us know what your personal experiences are in these locations or in Ecuador overall. The more you share, whether you've been there long-term or even just for a quick trip, the better for everybody else who's having great discussions on Instagram and YouTube.
Right. So let's dive into the top 5 cities.
Retirement abroad isn't a dream. It's a plan. Thanks to the Optimized Portugal Golden Opportunities Fund. Stay tuned.
Coming in at number 5 is Salinas. So why is this a great area? Salinas is one of Ecuador's most developed beach towns. So it has good infrastructure, it has a mild climate compared to some of the other beach towns, beach access, and it's a great base for expat life. Some of the downsides, because it is a coastal area, there is some risk to humidity, storms, and some vulnerability when it comes to crime, especially in the port or coastal zones. And also, it's a tourist area. We know what happens when tourists come in. Prices go up, right? So some of the areas are going to be a little bit pricier, especially near the touristy hubs. As far as the LGBTQ vibe and hotspots, it's not necessarily known as a gay town, but Salinas has a relatively liberal and tolerant lifestyle compared to some of the other coastal towns around. You won't find necessarily a robust gay nightlife, but there are gay-friendly hotels and bars. Actually found one bar that is called Vox. It is a gay disco and dance bar with drag shows. So there is a somewhat of a gay vibe going on here. Some of the other perks, again, beach lifestyle community. If you love seafood, you're going to be in heaven here. It also has good connectivity to some of the other coastal hubs, and it does have access to a lot of modern amenities, especially healthcare. So if you're looking at your cost of living, a 2-bedroom is going to run you anywhere between $500 and $800 a month. We're going to be giving wide ranges on a lot of these cities here because the reality is that in many of these places, it really depends on the accommodation and the location as to where your rent is going to land. Overall cost of living is about 50 to 65% lower than the US average. That's just crazy. And we know most of this has to do with the fact that housing is so cheap. So we're going to give Salinas a Queer Money retirement rating of 6 out of 10 because it is a comfortable option, although it does lack a strong queer scene.
Coming in at number 4 is Cotacachi in the northern Andes, the Ambubur province. Why is Cotacachi great? Well, it's quiet, it's scenic, it has a cooler climate, that eternal spring that David talked about earlier, a strong expat presence, and many foreigners appreciate Cotacachi as a peaceful base in the Andes. Downsides are that it's a very, very small town with limited infrastructure and limited entertainment. Also, the healthcare and high-end services might require you to travel, so that might increase some of your costs, so keep that in mind. And then the LGBTQ plus vibe and hotspots, it's a little bit more discreet than some of the other cities we're going to cover here shortly. You won't see an over queer venue or bar, but the expat community is very progressive and very accepting. So maybe you build the queer bar or restaurant, disco.
Cafe.
As for the perks, low noise, a lot of beautiful natural surroundings. Hiking is very big here. It has a great community feel. Rents and cost of living are very, very low. Cost for a 2-bedroom apartment in Cotacachi, you'll find a 1-bedroom actually go for about $400 a month in the historic district. A 2-bedroom might run you between $450 to $600. But of course, as David said, that's very approximate and very contingent on where exactly you decide to live and how luxurious your expectations are. As for the overall cost of living, Cotacachi is about 60 to 70% lower than the U.S. national average. So for all these reasons, we're giving it a Queer Money retirement rating of 7 out of 10. It's great for those prioritizing quiet living, scenic living over nightlife.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how affordable some of these places are. And I think one of the reasons why we're seeing so many individuals in the U.S. talk about leaving the country, because it's just untenable to live in the U.S. unless you're making multiple 6 figures, it almost seems these days.
Yeah.
All right, coming in at number 3 is Guayaquil. Now, Guayaquil is the largest city in the Guayas province. Why is it a great city? Well, it's a big city, so it has big city energy. It's a port city with lots of commerce, so there's a lot of stuff happening here. It does have a more tropical climate. There are great services, but you're going to find that in the urban areas is where the community is more tolerated, right? It's more tolerant in these urban areas. Some of the downsides is that because it is a coastal city, this one in particular has intense heat and humidity.
But that's good for your wrinkles.
Right. It definitely.
Good for your skin.
Right. It is less of that Highland mild climate that we've referred to that many retirees prefer. Some of the other downsides, it is facing a serious security crisis due to escalating violence from organized crime, particularly drug gangs in certain areas of the city. So you definitely want to keep that in mind.
Donald Trump is fixing all that.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. We know that that's the case in many of the cities that queer people are living in the U.S. right now, too. As far as the LGBTQ vibe and hotspots, Guayaquil has an annual pride parade that's been going on since 2008, which is great. It's along its Malecon or its beach or boardwalk area, which draws a lot of public visibility for the community. You'll find that there are some gay-friendly venues, though fewer dedicated queer bars than in some of the other cities we're going to be talking about here. The broader urban sections of the area are relatively open-minded in the mainstream bars and restaurants. So similar to some of the other countries that we've talked about, seeing gay people congregating together in bars that are not necessarily gay bars is very common. Some of the perks here, great shopping. We already said this is a big city, so if you love to shop, this is probably where you're going to want to be.
Play your Julia Roberts.
Yeah. The thing is, it has great coastal access. So if you're going to want to jump up and down the coast, this is a great place to start from. And it does have really good municipal infrastructure. Overall cost of living, a 2-bedroom is going to run you around $620 a month, again, give or take. Cost of living is similar to some of the other places that we've talked about 60 to 65% lower than the U.S. average. For all these reasons, we're giving it a Queer Money retirement rating of 7 out of 10. It's affordable, it's metropolitan, but remember, like most big cities, there are spots where there is crime, so you want to definitely look out for that.
Right. So one of those other cities that David keeps referring to is coming in as a runner-up is Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador in the Pichincha province. It's great because it's full of urban amenities, international airport, good healthcare, cultural institutions, and significant expat and queer presence. The downsides are the altitude, quite high, and the traffic congestion. So if you have some breathing issues or breathing sensitivities, this may not necessarily be the place you want to land. There are some security concerns in some neighborhoods, as David has alluded to earlier, and there are somewhat higher costs than in some of the rural or smaller towns. I find rural to be a weird word to say.
Rural.
LGBTQ plus vibe and hotspots. Quito hosts one of the more active queer scenes in Ecuador. There's the La Zona Rosa, which is around the La Foch.
Plaza Foch.
Plaza Foch in Mariscal.
Mariscal.
Which is essential for the LGBTQ plus nightlife. As for bars and clubs, bars like Radar, Tercer Millennial Evolution. Did I finally say that right?
Yeah, got that one.
I screw that up on every practice. Those are known as the hot spots as well. Pride is an annual event every year in June, which is what annual means. And in the city is often considered the LGBTQ plus hub in Ecuador, as I said earlier. Some of the perks are, again, the airport access, which helps you get in and out of the city and maybe even in and out of the country more easily. Strong medical and educational infrastructure, cultural offerings, diversity of neighborhoods, and has a lot of reliable services. The cost for a 2-bedroom apartment goes for about $675. Some sources say it can get as high as $1,200 to $1,300, depending upon how luxurious your expectations are.
You know you love the luxury.
You love the lux. As for the overall cost of living without rent, you're looking at about 54% lower than the U.S. national average. Including rent, you're looking at about 63% lower than the U.S. national average. For all these reasons, we're giving it a Queer Money retirement rating of 8 out of 10. However, it did not land in the number 1 spot.
Nope.
That is,
retire abroad, but make it fabulous. The Optimized Portugal Golden Opportunities Fund grows your wealth, plants your roots in Portugal, and after 5 years, you can apply for EU citizenship.
Better healthcare, lower costs, and over 170 visa-free destinations. Discover more by clicking the link in the video.
Coming in at number 1 is Cuenca. Now, of course, you're all gonna have to correct me on the pronunciation there. We looked it up, but this is what we were finding as the most common. This is in the Azua province, which is in the southern Highlands. So why is this great? Well, it's widely regarded as one of the best expat towns in Ecuador. It has beautiful colonial charm architecture. It's a manageable size, so it's kind of one of those in-between cities. It's not a metropolis. It's not a tiny town. You do have great access to things like healthcare, a temperate climate, which is appealing definitely for many expats, but it's also considered to be one of the safest cities in South America. So we've talked about crime in other cities. This one is doing a good job of keeping the crime down for some reason. Some of the downsides, though, it does have a smaller queer scene compared to Quito. It's somewhat remote because it doesn't have access to a major airport right there. But for some of the more cosmopolitan amenities, you may need to travel occasionally. We've mentioned that about some of the cities here, actually the small towns. As for the LGBTQ vibe, Cuenca holds an annual Pride March. While its queer nightlife is more subdued than Quito, the expat community tends to be very supportive. Although we have heard some expats in some of the forums say that they have found it difficult finding standout gay venues. But again, we've kind of mentioned that about a lot of countries that have done a great job with integration and support for the community aren't necessarily full of queer spaces. Some of the perks, it does have a peaceful lifestyle, very walkable. It's beautiful mountain vistas. And again, it does have a very strong expat community. And overall, your costs are much lower, coming in at around $300 to $450 for a 2-bedroom apartment, especially in some of the decent neighborhoods. Some of the really nice listings are pushing $600 plus. Overall cost of living here is about 60 to 70% lower than the U.S. average. And for all these reasons, it gets our top spot, coming in at 9 out of 10 for our Queer Money retirement rating.
So there you have it. Ecuador's top queer retiree towns, balancing affordability and LGBTQ plus acceptance. If you want nightlife, infrastructure, and visibility, Quito and Guayaquil will pull you in. If you want charm, peace, and serious cost of living, Cuenca is your sweet spot. Cotacachi offers a quiet retreat for a deeper solace, and Salinas gets you the beach life with a touch of openness.
Yeah.
You want the touch, not without.
So which city here sounds most like one that you would like to live in? Let us know in the comments, especially if you're already living there. To map out your personal finish line, when and where and how you end up retiring, grab the Happy Gay Retirement Calculator with the QR code on the screen here, in the description of the YouTube video, or the link in your podcast player. And remember, if you want all of the ratings that we're giving to all these cities all around the world, including the US, go to queermoneypodcast.com/cities or click the link in the description or your podcast player.
Then join us next week when we talk about the very important topic of tax treaties as an expat.
Well, it's just general taxes as an expat, but we are going to cover some of the information around tax treaties.
Right, because you still got to pay Uncle Sam, even though you don't live here. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about a lot of men in Speedos. many men in Speedos. When we cover the top 5 places in Italy for gay retirees. And as always, if you love this episode, please remember to like, subscribe, click all the bells and whistles, and share this with your friends and family who want to retire abroad. And until next time, stay fabulous. If Ecuador feels too warm for your gay retirement, check out this episode in cold Canada here. Bye.
Bye.